Alright, this is the back squat. As you can see, Andrew's in an upright position. Feet and shoulder width apart, locked out knees and hips. His scapula is retracted and depressed. His chest is high, head looking straight forward. Look straight forward, Andrew. In his eccentric phase, his hips are going to be in flexion, and knees are going to be in flexion. His gluteus maximus and quadriceps are activated with hamstrings helping as well. He's going to be inhaling on his eccentric phase. On his concentric phase, he's going to go hips into extension, knees are going to go into extension. Gluteus maximus and quadriceps are contracting with hamstrings contracting as well, and he's exhaling on his concentric phase. Alright, this is the front squat. As you can see, Andrew's in an upright position with feet about shoulder width apart. His knees are locked out, and as well as his hips. His scapula is protracted to allow for front rack position. His chest is high with his head looking straight forward. In his eccentric phase, his hips will be going to flexion while his knees are going to flexion. His gluteus maximus and quadriceps are activated with hamstrings helping as well. On his eccentric phase, he'll be inhaling. On his concentric phase, his hips are going into extension as well as his knees. His gluteus maximus and quadriceps are contracting with hamstrings contracting as well, and he's exhaling on his concentric phase.
So with a box squat, he's in an upright position, hip and knees locked out, feet shoulder width apart. His scapula is retracted and depressed. His chest is high. Basically, his chin should be stacked over his pubic bone. Just stick your chin back just a little bit, Josh. Yep. And he's looking straight ahead. So in his eccentric phase, go ahead. His hips are going into flexion, knees going into flexion. Gluteus maximus and quadriceps are being activated during the eccentric phase. And as well, he is inhaling eccentrically. Concentrically, these same joints are changing but doing the opposite motion, so hips are going into extension, knees going into extension, his gluteus maximus and quadriceps are contracting, and he is exhaling concentrically. Hamstrings play a role, but they're more kind of secondary muscles within hip flexion and hip extension.
Alright, this is the split squat. As you can see, Andrew's knee is stacked over his ankle. His feet are about hip distance apart. There's flexion in the lead leg and hip. His scapula is retracted and depressed. Chin stacked over pubic bone. There you go. In his eccentric phase, his front leg, his hips into flexion, knees in flexion. In his back leg, knee is going in flexion. His quadriceps and gluteus maximus are being activated, and he is inhaling. On his concentric phase, in the front leg, his hips into extension, knees in extension. In the back leg, his knees into extension. The quadriceps and gluteus maximus are being contracted, and he is exhaling.
Josh is going to demonstrate the deadlift. His feet are going to be hip distance or just a little bit outside hip distance or width. His hips in a perfect world should be down and back. Hips, basically cue is hips lower than your shoulders. And then in a perfect world again, shoulders should be above the barbell. That comes down to mobility. His scapula is going to be retracted. 3 points of contact, coccyx, scapula, and his head. So in the concentric phase, hips are going into extension, as well as knees are going into extension. His quadriceps and gluteus maximus are contracting. Concentrically, he is exhaling. There you go, Josh. Eccentrically, his hips are going into flexion, knees going into flexion. Quadriceps and gluteus maximus are activated. He is exhaling. With the deadlift, you want to try and keep that bar as close as you can to your body. Just like that. You want to straighten the body. Perfect, Josh. Jump. Romanian deadlift. His feet are going to be about hip distance apart or slightly out. He's going to have soft knees in this, so a little bend there, Josh. Yep. Hips are going to be locked out. That's going to be your hinging point. His scapula is going to be retracted. Retract that just a little bit. Yep. His chest is going to be high. head looking straight forward, stack chin above pew. Yep. And his upper body is basically going to stay upright through the whole movement, only hinging at the hips. So eccentrically, his hips are going into flexion. Keep that bar close to Josh. Yep. Gluteus maximus is being activated in hip flexion. He is inhaling eccentrically. On the concentric motion, his hips are going into extension. Gluteus maximus is contracting. He is exhaling concentrically. Try and keep that bar close to you, Josh. Don't let it flare out. Keep it tight, 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 tight. Soft knees, remember? Yep.
Alright, this is the glute ham raise. Andrew's starting with his feet against the back stop, ankles locked in, knees flexed in 90 degrees, his hips are locked out and upper body is in an upright position. On his eccentric phase, the knees are going to go into extension, his hamstrings are going to be activated, and he is inhaling on his eccentric phase. On the concentric phase, his knees are going into flexion, his hamstrings are contracting, and he is exhaling. Try to do one more there, Andrew. Alright, that's good.
Bent over barbell row. His feet are slightly outside hip distance. Soft bend in the knees, flexion in the hips, but that's going to be basically a joint that's not changing. You want that flexion to be the exact same within knees and hips. Scapular retraction slightly, more so concentrically when you are contracting. 3 points of contact in line, so his coccyx, scapula, and his head. So you can just kind of want to tilt the head down just a little bit. Yep, just like that. So concentric, we're going to start with concentric motion. Elbows are going into flexion, and shoulder joints are in extension. We are doing a barbell row, not a wide grip, so it's more narrow. Biceps and latissimus dorsi are contracting concentrically, and he is exhaling. Yep. Eccentrically, elbows are in extension, shoulder joints are in flexion, biceps and latissimus dorsi are activated, and he is inhaling eccentrically. One arm dumbbell row. So he's going to have his left foot, in this case, planted on the floor. That's going to be the side holding the dumbbell. He's going to have his right side with the knee and hand placed on the bench, securely on the bench. That's going to be his stability point. While the other hand is gripping the dumbbell. Yep. So concentrically, his elbow is going into flexion, shoulder joint is in extension. Biceps and latissimus dorsi are contracting as well. He is exhaling. Eccentrically, his elbow is going into extension. His shoulder joint is in flexion. Biceps and latissimus dorsi are activated as well. He is inhaling, very similar to a bent over row. Your lever points, basically your lower body is very still, but your lever points are very much the same. Basically the cue is just to pull your elbow to the ceiling, which he is doing.
Alright, this is the horizontal row. As you can see, Andrew's heels are planted on the bench. His knees and hips are locked out, with all 3 points of contact in line. His hands are pronated on the barbell with his scapula retracted and arms locked out. In his concentric phase, his elbows are in flexion, shoulder joints are in extension, his biceps and latissimus dorsi are contracted, and he is exhaling. Going to eccentric phase, his elbows are in extension, shoulder joints are in flexion, biceps and latissimus dorsi are activated, and he is inhaling. Alright, this is Andrew doing the pull-ups. His lower body is still during this movement. His starting position is have his hands in a pronated position. His arms are fully extended with the scapular retraction. In his concentric phase, his elbows are in flexion. His shoulder joint is in adduction. His biceps and latissimus dorsi are contracting, and he is exhaling. In eccentric phase, his elbows are in extension. Shoulder joint is in abduction. His biceps and latissimus dorsi are activated, and he is inhaling. Alright, this is Andrew doing the chin-up. It's similar to the pull-up. His lower body is also still during this movement. His starting position is having his hands in a supinated position, arms fully extended with a scapular retraction. In his concentric phase, his elbows are in flexion, shoulder joint is in extension, biceps and latissimus dorsi are contracting, and he is exhaling. Eccentric phase, his elbows are in extension, shoulder joint is in flexion, his bicep and latissimus dorsi are activated, and he is inhaling.
So with the bench press, when it is racked, we want the bar to be basically or in the area of the eyes, so kind of stacked over the eyes. When he unracks the barbell, we would want wrist, so he has his feet planted on the floor securely, that's for balance purposes. 3 points of contact on the bench, coccyx, scapula, and the back of his head. With bench press, the scapula is retracted and depressed to really open up that chest. So we're going to work with the eccentric phase. So his elbows are going into flexion, shoulder joints are going into horizontal abduction. Eccentrically, his pectoralis major and his triceps are being activated, and he is inhaling. Concentrically, he's going to be exhaling. Elbows are going into extension, shoulder joints are in horizontal adduction, pectoralis major and triceps are contracting, and basically wrists are stacked over elbows. Just like that. And he's going to drop to the same point every single time and lift up. Good job, Josh. So with chest flies, kind of the same points with bench press. Feet are planted on the floor, butts on the bench, scapulas on the bench, heads on the bench, 3 points of contact. His scapula is retracted and depressed to open up the chest, and his hands are in a neutral grip on the dumbbells, and they will stay in a neutral grip throughout the whole movement. So eccentrically, he's going to open up the chest. So shoulder joints are going into horizontal abduction. His pectoralis major is being activated in this movement. This is an isolation movement from the bench press, and he is inhaling eccentrically and exhaling concentrically. Shoulder joints are in horizontal adduction on the concentric motion, and again, pectoralis major is contracting. The main thing, you don't want to go too deep on this. Don't go as deep, Josh, right there. Because you don't want to put stress on the shoulder joints. That's good there, Josh.